It was a summer evening. The air was cool in a park in Ohio, and people were enjoying the sunset. Families had gathered, children were playing soccer, and young people were absorbed in their phones on the benches. However, in one corner of the park sat 40-year-old LeBron James. He had left behind a career spanning more than 20 years in the NBA and had become a globally recognized legend. Tonight, though, he was on the field as a father and older brother, watching his young son Bryce's soccer practice. His wife, Savannah, and daughters, Jury, were at home, but LeBron had insisted on picking up his son from practice himself. LeBron sat in the park with the calm demeanor he had cultivated over the years. He was dressed stylishly yet comfortably, a white t-shirt, simple pants, and sneakers. He had brought a book with him and was reading quietly, unbothered by the activity around him. At that moment, the sound of engines broke the park's silence. LeBron didn't even lift his head. Such noises were usually just motorcyclists passing by, but this time the engines headed toward the park. A group of 5 people, dressed in leather jackets and dark clothing, parked their bikes near the soccer field where Bryce was playing and began surveying the area. Their eyes soon locked onto LeBron. Accustomed to looks of both admiration and envy throughout his career, LeBron immediately sensed that these glances carried a different intent. The motorcyclists moved at the signal of their leader, a burly, bald man. He began walking toward LeBron, followed by 2 others. When LeBron noticed them, he stood up calmly. At 6'8", 2.03 meters, he towered over the leader, his presence as imposing as ever. The discipline and confidence he had honed during his playing years were evident in his every movement. "What are you doing here, man?" the leader asked, his tone provocative. LeBron replied calmly, "Waiting for my son." The man smirked and glanced at his companions. "This isn't a place for people like you," he said mockingly. LeBron's expression hardened, but he didn't lose his composure. "This is a public park," he said firmly. The smirk faded from the man's face. He stepped closer and said, "Talking smart, huh? Let's see if you've got the guts to back it up." The 2 others behind him formed a loose semicircle around LeBron. The other people in the park were focused on Bryce's soccer game. LeBron cast a brief glance around him. Asking for help never crossed his mind. He had always been adept at handling situations on his own. Discipline had been the cornerstone of his life, both on and off the court. LeBron took a deep breath. "I don't want any trouble," he said calmly. "I'll just take my son and leave." But the man didn't back down. Instead, he stepped even closer, a provocative look on his face, and muttered, "Come on, show us what you've got." LeBron didn't budge. His hands remained relaxed at his sides, but his eyes carefully analyzed the man's every movement. Throughout his career, he had learned to deal with aggression. Balancing it with discipline had been key to becoming an NBA legend. Now it was time to use that discipline in another challenge. The burly man, hoping LeBron would crumble under pressure, stepped even closer. His shadow fell over LeBron as he sneered, "What's the matter, man? Scared?" LeBron took a deep breath and didn't respond. Fear wasn't the issue here. The issue was time. When would Bryce's soccer match end? Would anyone in the park notice what was happening? "Leave him alone!" A sudden voice cut through the tension. LeBron turned his head slightly and saw a young boy standing a few meters away. It was his 16-year-old son, Bryce, fresh from the game, sweat still glistening on his forehead. "Bryce, stay back!" LeBron called out, his voice firm and commanding. But the motorcyclists turned their attention to Bryce, their faces lighting up with the grin of predators spotting easy prey. "That's your kid?" one of the men asked, pointing a gloved finger at Bryce. "Maybe we should teach both of you a lesson." LeBron's pulse quickened, but not from fear, determination. Slowly he stood up, his movements deliberate and controlled. Planting his feet firmly on the ground, he kept his eyes locked on the bikers, unwavering. The stance he had perfected on the basketball court now found purpose in another arena. "Don't touch him," LeBron said, his voice calm yet steely. The burly man laughed, shaking his head. "Look at this guy acting like he's someone important," he said, and the others joined in, their laughter echoing through the park. But LeBron didn't flinch. His expression remained unchanged, his grounded stance unyielding. The silence he projected was far more powerful than any words could be. "You're not going to do anything," one of the men said, stepping closer to LeBron. Finally, LeBron spoke, his voice low but resolute. "You don't want to do this." The laughter stopped abruptly. The motorcyclist hesitated, caught off guard by the confidence in LeBron's voice. But the moment of doubt passed quickly. The leader took another step forward, reaching for LeBron's shoulder. What happened next was so fast and unexpected that even the bikers couldn't process it. But LeBron had been ready for anything. As the man's hand moved toward his shoulder, LeBron sidestepped effortlessly, avoiding the grab. His body moved with the precision of a drawn bowstring being released. The burly man lost his balance and stumbled, momentarily stunned. LeBron didn't stop there. With one fluid motion, he struck the man's wrist with an open palm, neutralizing him. The man let out a groan and staggered back, clutching his hand. "What?" the man started, but LeBron interrupted him. "I warned you," LeBron said, his tone still calm but firm. The other two motorcyclists didn't heed the warning. They rushed toward LeBron. The first swung a wild punch, but LeBron easily ducked, letting the blow miss. A quick knee strike disrupted the man's balance, sending him to the ground. The second motorcyclist hesitated for a split second, but that was all LeBron needed. Spinning on his heel, he delivered a sharp kick to the man's ribs, leaving him gasping for air and stumbling backward. By now, the leader had regained his composure. His face was flushed with rage as he came at LeBron with both fists, swinging like a boxer. But LeBron didn't meet force with force. Years of experience had taught him to rely on agility and precision. He dodged the punches with ease, moving like a veteran athlete still at his peak. A crowd had started to gather along the edges of the park. Parents, children, even the soccer players were watching. Someone pulled out a phone and began recording the scene. The leader attacked again, trying to grab LeBron's shirt. But LeBron was faster. Breaking free from the grasp, he landed a precise strike to the man's solar plexus. The leader stumbled, his tough demeanor cracking as he struggled to catch his breath. "Enough!" LeBron's voice rang out, carrying through the park. His stance remained strong, but his face betrayed neither anger nor hostility, only resolve. "I don't want to hurt you. Leave." For a moment, it seemed like the motorcyclists might listen. The leader glared at LeBron, clutching his chest while the others were still struggling to get up. The tension hung in the air, thick and heavy, but LeBron never wavered. "Let's go," the leader finally said, motioning to his men. They stumbled toward their bikes, muttering curses as they started their engines. But before leaving, the leader turned back and pointed at LeBron. "This isn't over, man," he said with venom. LeBron watched them silently, not saying a word as they rode off into the distance. Once they were gone, he walked over to Bryce. As the motorcyclists rode away with their crew, LeBron stood tall where he was. His breathing was steady and controlled. As the sound of the engines faded into the distance, a round of applause broke out from the gathering crowd. People whispered to one another in awe and amazement. Bryce ran toward LeBron, his eyes filled with a mix of fear and admiration. "Dad, are you okay?" Bryce asked, his voice trembling. LeBron knelt down, placing a hand on his son's shoulder with a gentle smile. "I'm fine," he said calmly. "Let's go home." But as they walked toward home, LeBron sensed that this wasn't the end of the story. Not yet. LeBron and Bryce walked in silence, the soft sound of their sneakers on the pavement the only noise in the quiet evening. Bryce kept glancing at his father, his face a mixture of admiration and concern. Finally, he couldn't hold it in any longer. "Dad," Bryce began, his voice barely above a whisper. "How did you do that? They were huge, and there were 3 of them." LeBron smiled faintly and shook his head. "It's not about size, Bryce," he explained. "It's about being prepared, staying calm, and knowing when to act." Bryce frowned. "But what if they come back? That guy said this wasn't over." LeBron stopped walking, turned to his son, and looked him directly in the eyes. Speaking in a serious tone, he said, "If they come back, we'll handle it. But listen to me carefully, Bryce." His voice grew firmer. "What happened today wasn't about fighting, it was about standing up, for myself and for you. But remember this, violence is only an option when there's no other choice." Bryce nodded slowly, processing his father's words. LeBron placed a reassuring hand on his son's shoulder and added calmly, "It's not about proving you're strong. It's about knowing your worth and not letting anyone take that from you." When they arrived home, Savannah was waiting on the porch. Her arms were crossed, and her face carried a worried expression. "You're late," she said, her voice tinged with concern. LeBron paused, and Bryce quietly took a step back. "Something happened at the park," LeBron said, choosing his words carefully. He didn't want to worry Savannah further, but he believed in being honest. As he recounted the events, Savannah's expression changed. Her worry was replaced by a mix of pride and gratitude. Her lips tightened into a thin line, but her eyes glistened with emotion. "LeBron," she said finally, "I'm proud of you for protecting yourself and our son. But promise me, don't take risks like that unless you have no other choice." "I promise," LeBron said, and he meant it. That night, as LeBron lay in bed, he replayed the day's events in his mind. The bikers' aggression, the crowd's reaction, and the leader's parting words, "This isn't over," echoed in his thoughts. Yet LeBron wasn't afraid. Years ago, he had learned that the power of fear was directly proportional to how much control you gave it. Instead, he felt a profound sense of purpose. The world wasn't always fair, but moments like this proved that courage and discipline could make a difference. LeBron knew that this experience was more than a test of his skills. It was a reminder that standing up against injustice was always worth it. LeBron James' story is a powerful example of resilience, preparation, and the importance of holding your ground at the right time. His quiet courage reminds us that true strength isn't about size or intimidation. It's about knowing your worth and acting with integrity. If this story resonates with you, consider how you can stand up for yourself or others in difficult situations. And remember, courage isn't the absence of fear, it's doing the right thing despite it.